Hi, I'm Carrie.
And I'm Kayla. Welcome to our Cheat Sheet Speech podcast. We're two pediatric speech-language pathologists who educate parents and caregivers on how to play intentionally in your everyday routines to promote language.
Yes, I love it. So just a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. If you have concerns about your child's speech or language, please seek an evaluation from a pediatric speech-language pathologist that is licensed in your state.
I'm excited for our podcast today.
Me too. I think it's a good one and kind of a little different. Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think so too. So we usually start off with a little chatter. So we're going to chat today about daycares and kind of what you would want to look for in a daycare. And then after that, we're going to talk about in our speech spotlight, the difference between a speech language screener and an evaluation.
Yep.
And then after that, we will do our communication countdown where we have a top 5 for the day.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I guess let's jump right in. So, we both see a lot of younger clients that go to daycares. I do a lot of work in early intervention. So I'm popping into daycares all the time. And I feel like a lot of times parents ask me, like, what is the best daycare in the area? I have kids who are like trying to sign up for daycare and they're like, oh, what are the good daycares? The SLP must know. What are the good daycares?
Yeah, that's definitely a question we get asked all of the time.
And it's a tough question because it really is not a one size fits all. Right. It's super individualized to your kiddo.
Yeah. And you almost, instead of asking like, what's the best one, you should really ask like, what are you looking for in a daycare?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because like you said, not one size fits all. And there are certain environments where kids are going to thrive better in based on their needs and also their learning styles.
Right. And a lot of times too with these daycare, parents are looking for safety, which is awesome. And they're looking for, positivity as well. But they don't really know what else they should be looking for. I mean, it would be the same thing for me, like trying to buy a house or something. I would have no idea what I should be like looking for.
Yeah.
So we are a great resource to help you kind of see what will help your child in the area of language development, but also in just development as a whole. So lots of times these daycares offer that like observation or like daycare tour type of thing. So let's pretend we're in that situation. Where would we start?
Yeah, I think that's great. If we're on this tour, like where do you start looking? Usually they have like a big window where you can peek in the classroom.
Yeah, or
just like
a classroom.
Yeah, or even sit and observe for a little bit.
Yes.
So I would definitely start with like, what is this environment looking like? Is it enriching the language? So starting out with like, are the toys that I'm seeing developmentally appropriate?
Right.
And do they have a variety of toys?
Right. So we're thinking like cause effect toys. Are those there? Are there, also just are there toys that they're interested in too? So if your kiddo is like super interested in construction right now, are there toys that meet that play interest? But also like, are they super interested in toys that maybe spin or make noises? Is that available in this daycare environment? And then I think the other piece too is if they're not available in that environment, then is there access to it?
Can they bring it in?
Yes. Can they? Yes.
Which I understand. Maybe there might be some rules around that, but just you need to answer those questions if that's something relevant to you.
Yes. Yeah. And then that's all going to depend on your child as well.
Yeah. And then also just thinking like, do they have independent play opportunities to interact with other children, and then also play opportunities where they might need more support to just continue growing that play.
Right. Like if they're, super interested in a certain type of toy right now, and like you want toys that they can play with, that they can access, but also some toys that maybe they might have to ask for help. Or maybe it takes them a minute or two, like some shape sorters might be a little bit more difficult, might take them a minute or two, but that's just working on problem solving skills. So you want some things that challenge them too, or just things that maybe are just not in your home too. Like, oh, okay, like this is cool. This is different. Something for them to kind of explore and figure out something new.
Right. So we're looking around the classroom. We're like, okay, toys, check. I want to see visuals.
Yeah. That's just the speech person's favorite thing.
I know.
Speech therapists are always scanning Scanning for those visuals around the room. What do you think, which visuals do you think would be most important in the
I want visuals on my toy bins so that it's like the construction toy bin and the shapes toy bin. And then this way your child can be more independent with that cleanup and where things go. Or if they want a certain toy, they can go and grab it from that bin. I also want to see some visuals for those like routines, like hand washing. So my child can be more independent with the steps for washing their hands.
Right. Like if you see like, you know, first you turn on the sink, then you wash it. I see a lot of like, they'll put that on the mirror, like in the bathroom or on the sinks too. So then, like you said, they can just go complete those steps. Or also too, then you can point to the step, like, what do you think happens next? The teacher can point to that and just build that confidence and autonomy of like, I can do this on my own.
Start sequencing some of those routines, and then also just access to visuals if that's how your child is communicating right now. Some kids are using visuals by like pointing to them or reaching for them, or even if it's at a routine like knowing that circle time is next, and then you transition to like music. So visuals for communication, schedules, and understanding language.
I love that. So we took a look at the toys in the classroom. We took a look at those visuals in the classroom. Then I'm kind of just going to take in the classroom as a whole. So what does that like staff to student ratio look like? What does this classroom sound like?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think a lot of times in these daycare environments, if it's super noisy, that can feel overstimulating to your child. It also can reduce attention when there's background noise. That reduces attention. The same thing on like if a TV is on and you're playing, that actually reduces the child's attention and that like auditory processing as well. So just taking a look around and listening and hearing. And then you can also take a look at, you know, some of the children in the class too.
Yeah, just kind of seeing their vibe. Are they overstimulated or do they seem like they're able to have these like regulated moments in the classroom?
Yeah, I love that. I think those are some great ideas of like what you would want to be like looking for in that classroom. So next, I guess we're kind of looking at that teacher and provider. So you're going to, you know, you looked at the classroom.
Yeah, so now it's like thinking about what could we ask the teacher if you have a moment to speak with them. What do you think you should ask the teacher?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that I would ask the teacher is like, where are they playing with the child? Like, how are they playing with the child? And this one you can observe in the classroom as well. But are they sitting like in a chair? Or are they sitting on the floor with the child? Because you have to remember that the teacher is your child's language model, right? Like,
so true.
You are now entrusting another person to, you know, uphold those communication opportunities for your child. So trying to take a minute and ask the teacher of like, how do you play with the kiddo, or even just observing that in the classroom? Are they at eye level when they're playing with these toys? What does that look like?
Yeah, and just also, are they like then supporting the child if their play is a certain way where they can support it more, like, and follow the child's lead in that situation? Or are they like providing visuals in the moment if the child needs more support with a visual? So kind of that on-demand cueing system. Do they have that?
Right. And even with that, how, like, are those communication systems, like you're saying, supported? I think sometimes a lot, like, we'll see teachers who are like more like asking the child to like communicate, like, oh, say more, and before giving, you know, the child more. So are they consistent with the language opportunities or language models that you're providing at home? And then also just, are they knowledgeable of those communication milestones? So every child's on their own track, but we want to make sure that these teachers are still knowledgeable about, you know, what is maybe developmentally appropriate for the child's age, in the sense of, I wouldn't want like a teacher to be asking or drilling a 1-year-old with who questions, right? Because that's going to be overwhelming and difficult for the child. But like, are they able to, one, be understanding of those developmentally like appropriate milestones or like known milestones, and then two, are they able to adapt and individualize to each child? Because kids meet these milestones at different rates. So are they able to also adapt and meet a child where what milestone they're at?
That's a really good point. And it just keeps that early detection on their radar as well, if they need to refer to a different providers. So then lastly, I would also ask them about like their behavior management strategies. So thinking about that, like, do they align with your home too? Because does this match with like how you would intervene in a communication breakdown? And you want to make sure that you're giving the same message at home that's being taught at daycare.
That consistency.
Yeah, because that can be very confusing for a child and dysregulating as well if there's not the same type of routine going into those moments. I like to look for a strategy that is going to provide the child with a way to regulate themselves and a way to talk about their emotions.
Right. Just giving them that space to talk about or like label and feel their emotions too. I do love like they're called like regulation station, I've heard, or like cozy corner. Love when a classroom has kind of that space to help regulate your body, even in times where you're not like overstimulated, just to like also, regulate your body before maybe something happens is super important. But trying to, see in this, is there a space for that? And then are there, maybe visuals, like you said, talking about like labeling. One thing that I've seen in one of my classrooms, which is super cute. Have you seen those like emotion plush toys before?
I don't think so. No.
They're so cute. I'll link them in our chat, but they're like little, I don't know, balls. They're like little smiley face balls, but they're squishy and they have different emotions on them. So I know like one of them is red and he has like the angry face on him. One's like blue. It kind of reminds me of that, what's that movie? The Inside Out. Yeah. So it reminds me of those. So then you can kind of like squish it, play with it, but also like label that emotion. So just talking about like, this is how I feel right now. Yeah. So something like that, is there that space? But I love what you said about making sure the biggest thing is that consistency.
Right. Yeah. I just want to make sure it carries over. So I would definitely ask the teacher about that. So I think the other thing, thinking about, maybe we looked at the classroom, the teachers, what does their whole day look like? Like, is there a consistent routine?
Yeah.
Some children really thrive in a routine and based environment. So if that is your child, making sure that exists for them. And just, you want a mix of things. You want multisensory.
Right.
You want movement. You want chances for open-ended play, chances for being able to like take some rest time and breaks, and obviously throw a snack in there, of course, too.
Something like that. But yeah, I like how you said really looking at your child and what they thrive in, because some children might benefit from a more Montessori approach, and that approach would be more child-led, and they have kind of the activities out and like they kind of follow the child's lead from there. But that doesn't work for every kiddo. So really trying to take into account what works for your child, but being knowledgeable of, is there some sort of, adjustment for the day, or is it really just this one classroom, we're here, and there's maybe not as much structure there. So trying to figure out what looks best for your child.
Okay, that's awesome. So should we move on to our speech spotlight?
I love that. Yeah, let's kind of jump into our speech spotlight. We kind of talk about those, I don't know, like hot topics in the speech world, or maybe more like educational based topics, latest research, or something that kind of comes up in the speech world. But today we're spotlighting the difference between like the screeners and the evaluations. Daycares are often the place that either providers or parents kind of start to notice that maybe their child has some more areas of support there, or might recognize like, oh, okay, like these are some things that they're not saying in the classroom or something like that. So there's the kind of the first space that they're like, oh, they're around other peers. I might be noticing some differences here.
Exactly. So first would be a speech language screener. We can chat about what that is. So this is just like a quick snapshot of what your child's skills are. So usually it might be that the speech language pathologist is like brought into the daycare or the classroom to screen the whole entire class. So it's like a bigger picture I think situation. Usually
what I do is I'll like email the teacher. We'll figure out a day that I'm going to do it. They send the consent form home to everybody at the school. And then whoever returns it, I will do screeners for.
Right. So it's a little bigger scale, but then the actual screener takes place one-on-one.
Yeah.
And it's usually about like 15 minutes, I would say.
Very short.
And it's just brief of like, okay, are they saying the sounds that I would expect them to say for this age? Briefly, like saying a couple words, and then are they answering these types of questions, following these types of directions? But just like a few of each to kind of get some of that early information. And then if the SLP finds that they aren't doing some of those things, then they would refer to the evaluation, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But if they don't have any concerns at that time, they would say an evaluation is not warranted at this time.
Yep. It's very like quick checklist in and out. And I think another thing to remember about the screeners too is that it's a new person, like the SLP, they probably have not met before, unless they've maybe seen them in the classroom. But it's a new person, new toys. So the speech therapist is just getting 15 minutes with your child. So I think a lot of times parents like panic about the screeners. But I'm sure you do this too as an SLP. We do err on the side of caution.
Yeah, you might as well refer. There's no harm in getting something more comprehensive after that. We're very aware of that, like even when we do an evaluation, that a child might not test the way they usually would perform at their home. So a lot of our both like a screener and an evaluation just take into account that might not be representative of the child that day, and that is okay. Nothing happens if that's
and just there's the biggest goal for us is to get support for children who need support. So if they weren't showing us a skill that we think that they we want them to be starting to show at this age, or then we're gonna just refer for the evaluation, and you can take that next step from there.
Right.
So what that would kind of look like, if you got that sheet of paper, it says that, recommends evaluation, then you would go ahead and schedule an evaluation for your child. And that will be, doesn't have to be the same speech therapist. You can pick any speech therapist. And that will be a more in-depth look at your child's speech, language, whatever area, skills. So they will also take into account that medical information, birth history, just like the other milestones and how they've been meeting those and what that timeline kind of looks like. Any other, genetics or, family history, things like that too, because that all goes into, our data of how we're going to, evaluate your child and see their speech and language skills. And so and we're also going to perform that standardized assessment. It doesn't always have to be a standardized assessment, but oftentimes insurance companies are looking for a standardized score. And that's really just going to take place of, you're going to do a more in-depth test, and then you're going to get that score, and then it's going to kind of say like, okay, is that above or below where a child or kid's age shows those skills based on some normative.
Right. Yeah, that's perfect. So screener, quick, 15 minutes, more of a detection tool. Evaluation, comprehensive, incorporating all aspects of your child and seeing how that's like impacting whether it's areas of speech or language.
Yes. And then also coming up with a plan of care. So I think that's another big thing, is that the eval will also have goal recommendations and then also recommendations for speech sessions, or not, if we find out in the evaluation they don't need it or wouldn't benefit right now. So they'll have that recommendation for, frequency of speech services and goals.
Right. Leads to that intervention.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So a teacher reasons why they might refer for an evaluation, or like wanting to have their child screened too. That would be like if they're noticing, especially like in this thinking like toddler age, are they having trouble following directions? Are they having less language use, or like the types of language that they're using? It's not very varied. Answering questions, speech that's difficult to understand. Intelligibility can be low in those ages, but if they're noticing like they're frustrated about communicating.
They're trying.
And people aren't understanding them. Yeah. That would definitely be another reason.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's great to have these screeners. Not every preschool daycare does the screeners, but the screeners are kind of just a great snapshot. And then that eval can just give you some more information that you're looking for. But I think it's a good idea to just kind of know the difference between the two. So we get that question often. What is that? And, just trying to help parents better understand, okay, that these are two different things. They kind of look different. The screeners are usually free. And then the evaluations are typically like, out of pocket, private pay, or you could be like in an early intervention program as well. So I guess let's move on to our communication countdown for the week, which kind of wraps everything up, I think.
I think so too. So we're going to do our top 5 questions to ask at a daycare this week. We want to get you ready for that interview.
I love that. Yeah, top 5, wrap it up. Because sometimes too, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to ask.
Yeah.
We kind of explained what you should be looking for, but, the same thing, like you go in for an interview and they're like, what questions should I ask? So these are some good questions just to have on hand. They'll kind of answer some of those things we were talking about, what to look for. So these are some good base questions to ask to kind of give some more information here.
Yeah.
All right, give them to us.
All right, so number 1, I want to know what a typical day at daycare looks like.
Okay.
It's going to be giving me a great idea of the schedule and if there's that variability that we talked about.
Great open-ended question to kind of fill in with a lot of information.
Right, you might get a lot of information out of that one. 2, heavy hitter here. I love this one. How do you approach play in the classroom?
Oh, yeah, that's a tricky question.
I know. Yeah. I thought it was a good one. So thinking about, is it child-centered? Are they following their lead? And what types of play are they encouraging?
Yeah, and just to be interesting to see what the teacher is going to respond. Are they going to respond like with the types of toys they have, what they're doing, or you can kind of gauge their knowledge on the topic too on play.
Right. That's very true. Number 3, how do you support different modes of communication at this age?
Oh, I love that one. That one we talked a little bit about with visuals, if a child's like using gestures, visuals, but also I see this often because usually I'm providing access to AAC devices for children and are they, accepting of those AAC devices in the classroom? Are they trained on how to support that mode of communication? Even if they're not, are they willing to be trained on how to support that mode of communication for the child? So you just want to make sure that they're empowering your child's voice, but also other children in the classroom too. And are they encouraging your child to, change that and support communication of others in the classroom?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah. So all the different types of communication. And then number 4, I was thinking like, what's your criteria for referring to other providers? This will just give you a good idea if they are knowledgeable and willing to work with other providers.
Right. And there are some, I've seen like some daycares have, like those screener forms in the front, like at the front where you do drop off. So you could just fill out a screener form when you drop off your child, which is great on the way in. But yeah, just looking at that process, do they have something set up or they're just like, I don't know. But yeah, I want to make sure that there's something in place that this, the teachers are holding your children accountable and wanting them to grow and learn and support, that there's a person there who's kind of looking out for that.
Yeah. That's so true. And then number 5, what's your behavior management strategy? We talked a lot about that one, just making sure that it aligns with what you're doing at home.
Yeah, and making sure it's consistent.
Yeah.
I love it. Those are great 5 questions to have going into your daycare or, any school, something like that. But I love it. So, the daycares, they can make a huge difference on your child's communication journey. So hopefully you feel kind of set up for success there, know what to expect and know what to look for. And so hopefully that will help making that choice a little bit easier.
Perfect. Thanks for tuning in today. Make sure you like and subscribe to the video. Maybe share it with a friend if you know someone who's going to daycare soon or in the process of looking. Hopefully we can help them out too.
Yeah. And feel free to drop any questions or other topics that you have in our comments. And I will link those little plush toys in the chat as well, the motion toys. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.